6-0, 6-0, 6-0. That's right, guys. I'm 6-0. My last 6 extra daily bets on my website. Wow, starting to sound a little bit like Stu Feiner there. But anyway, I'll include a link for today's extra daily bet in the description section below. And just remember, guys, if you sign up for that package, you're going to get access to that membership for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus here, guys, I'm also going to include my daily best play for you. Absolutely free. It'll be included with your purchase. And oh yeah, guys, if I didn't mention to you, the extra daily bet costs just $2.99 for 30 days of service. That's a no-brainer. If you've been, supporting me here on YouTube, you might as well sign up and see who I'm actually betting on personally. And just a reminder, guys, if you find yourself enjoying this video here today, please don't forget to like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to take a look at the Wizards at the Hornets, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off on Friday, December 2nd, 2022. Washington is the 3-point favorite, totals 223.5. And even though the Wizards have struggled here recently, they've done a nice job playing defense on the road. They're in the top 5 in guarding the field goal while traveling. When it comes to scoring points, Bradley Beal's averaging a team-best 23 points a game, along with 5 assists. Now, Kristaps Porzingis, he's grabbing 8 boards a game himself. He's also scoring over 21.5 points a night. Now, as a team, the Wizards are in the top 10 in shooting from the field on the road. They're facing a Charlotte team who's having a tough time grabbing defensive boards. These guys are in the bottom 10 in defensive rebounding at home. When it comes to offensive production, these guys also have the lowest offensive field goal percentage at home in the league. They're scoring only 106 points a game in the Spectrum Center. Now, injury-wise, Hayward, Smith, and Ball are out. Rozier is questionable. When it comes to Washington, Rui Hachimura is out with an ankle. Now, total-wise, 8 out of Washington's last 10 meetings with Charlotte did stay under the number. So if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. Now, the Hornets also saw 3 out of their last 4 stay under the total as well. I'm going to lean toward Washington -3, under 223.5. Next matchup, Nuggets-Hawks, 7:30 p.m. East. Denver's -2.5, totals 232. Now, both teams do have injuries right now. Michael Porter Jr. is out for Denver. Green and Murray are also questionable. Meanwhile, for Atlanta, Holiday and Collins are out for them. Capella, Kaminsky, Johnson, and Bogey, they're all listed as questionable as well. Now, the Hawks did take the loss in 3 out of their last 4. They're also having a tough time shooting the ball in their own building. They're in the bottom 5 in offensive field goal percentage at home. They're also making a league-worst 29% of their three-pointers in front of their own fans. Now, they're facing a Denver squad who does a nice job of defensive rebounding. They're in the top 3 in the league in defensive boards per contest. Meanwhile, as a team, they won their last 4 straight, and they're arguably the best shooting team in the game. Bones Highland's making 44% of his three-pointers off the bench. 15 points a night for the role player as well. Meanwhile, Nikola Jokic, he's scoring a team-best 22 points a night. And no real surprise here, guys. The Nuggets are making 50% of their field goals as a team. Now, total-wise, Denver went 8-5 to the over as the road team. They're also 60% to the over in their last 10 meetings with Atlanta. So once again, if you're into historical, trends, plenty of overs to go around. I'm going to lean toward Denver -2.5, over 232. Next contest, Lakers-Bucks, 7:30 p.m. East. Milwaukee's -8.5, totals 230 and a hook. Now, the Bucks have played some incredibly tough defense all season long. They're in the top 3 in defending the field goal, and they're allowing just 107 points a night. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's averaging over 31 points a game, along with 11.5 rebounds. Meanwhile, Brook Lopez, he's making over 40% of his shots from downtown. Now, the Bucks are currently 11-2 straight up at Fiserv, and they covered in nearly 70% of those contests. They're facing a Laker team who's covered in just 25% of their road games. And aside from being a terrible defensive rebounding team, these guys have also been little threat shooting from long distance. The Lakers have the third lowest three-point percentage in the league. Now, injury-wise, Schroeder and Walker are questionable for LA. Meanwhile, for the Bucks, Ibaka and Beauchamp are out. It does look like we're going to see the season debut of Chris Middleton here tonight. Going to be good to see him back in action here. I'm very happy for Bucks fans there. Chris Middleton not playing basketball is not good for the game. Always like to see Chris in there. But anyway, total-wise, Milwaukee did see their last 5 straight get over the total. They're also 8-5 to the over at the Fiserv Forum. I'm going to lean toward Milwaukee minus 8.5, over 230 and a hook. Next contest, Heat, Celtics, 7:30 p.m. East. Boston's minus 8, totals 225. I'm 6-0 my last 6 extra daily bets on my website. The Celtics are on a 5-game winning streak, and they're 11-1 straight up at the Garden. And out of those dozen home games, Boston successfully covered the point spread 75% of the time. Jason Tatum scores a team-best 31 points a game. He's also averaging 7 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Malcolm Brogdon's also drilling nearly 50% of his shots from three-land. No real surprise here, guys. The Celtics lead the NBA in scoring, field goal percentage, three-point percentage, and shooting from the stripe. They're facing a banged-up Miami team who lost 5 out of their last 8. When it comes to offensive production, these guys are definitely not built for a track meet. They're in the bottom 5 in scoring, bottom 5 in offensive rebounding. When it comes to the injury report, Butler, Dedmon, Robinson, Highsmith, Hero, Strus, and Jovic, they're all listed as questionable. Oladipo's still out. When it comes to the scoring, Miami saw overs in 3 out of their last 4. Meanwhile, Boston's 10-2 to the over in Beantown. I'm going to lean toward Boston minus 8, over 225. Next contest, Magic at the Cavaliers, 7:30 p.m. East. Cleveland's minus 10.5, totals 217. I'm 6-0 in my last 6 extra daily bets. The Cavs are 9-1 straight up at home, and they failed to cover only 1 time during that stretch. They're also amongst the leaders in the East in home scoring. Donovan Mitchell averages over 28 points a game. He's making 42% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Darius Garland's making just about 42% of his three-pointers himself. He also ranks 2nd on the team in scoring with 22 points a game. Now, when it comes to defensive play in this one, the Cavs are allowing only 106 points per contest in the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. They're facing a Magic team on the other side who's just 1-9 on the road this year, and they actually score a league-worst 103 points a game in their travels. No real shocker here, guys. Orlando's amongst the worst field goal shooting teams on the road in the East. Now, injury-wise, Harris, Okike, and Suggs, they are all out. Mo Bamba is questionable. Meanwhile, for Cleveland, Jared Allen's out. Kevin Love is doubtful. When it comes to the number, Cleveland went 70% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, Orlando saw 6 out of their last 10 on the road stay under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Cleveland minus 10.5, under 217. Next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Raptors at the Nets, 7:30 p.m. East. Brooklyn's minus 2, totals 224. Now, the Nets are going to work without Simmons, Watanabe, and Alondas Williams. Those guys are all out for tonight's contest. And I'll tell you what, it's kind of surprising that after 4 years of Philadelphia fans banging on Ben Simmons, telling the world how it actually is with him, well, the world's finally starting to realize Ben Simmons is a fraud. Now, defensively, the Nets have had a tough time guarding the 3-ball. They're in the bottom 3 in defensive three-point percentage at home. They're also one of the worst rebounding teams in the game. They're in the bottom 3 in offensive boards. They're facing a Toronto team who's one of the better defensive rebounding teams in the East. They're also in the top 10 in fewest points allowed per game. When it comes to offensive production, Pascal Siakam's averaging a team-best 24 points a night. Now, OG Anunoby's right behind him with 18 points a game along with 6 rebounds. Now, as a team, the Raptors have beaten the likes of Cleveland, Dallas, and Miami recently. When it comes to the injury report, Otto Porter's out for Toronto. When it comes to the total, Toronto saw 5 out of their last 8 stay under the line. Meanwhile, Brooklyn went 4-1 to the under in their last 5. I'm going to lean toward Toronto +2, under 224. Next contest, it is going to be Pels, Spurs, 8 o'clock East. New Orleans is -7, totals 233. Now, the Pels are scoring more points a game on the road than any other team in the association. New Orleans is averaging just about 120 points a game in their travels, and they're leading the league in road offensive boards. Jonas Valanciunas, he's averaging nearly double-digit rebounds a night. He's also scoring 13 points a game. And, of course, Zion Williamson, he's the team's leading scorer with 23 points a night. They're facing a Spurs club on the other side of things who simply just gives up way too many points a game. They give up more points a game than any other team in the league. No real surprise here, guys. They're dead last in guarding the three-pointer, and they're also letting their opponents make over 51% of their field goals against them. That's incredible. Now, injury-wise, Pirtle's out. McDermott and Richardson are doubtful. Meanwhile, for the Pels, Ingram, Jones, and Liddell, they're all listed as out for them. Now, when it comes to the total, New Orleans is 80% to the over this year on the road. Meanwhile, the Spurs saw 5 out of their last 8 get over the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Pelicans, -7, over 233. Next contest, it is going to be Sixers at the Grizzlies, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Memphis is -5, totals 218. Now, the Grizzlies have been solid at the Forum. They're 7-2 straight up in Memphis, and they covered in 67% of those ball games. They've also been crisp on defense in their own building. These guys are in the top 5 in defensive field goal percentage at home. Now, they're also holding their opponents to a league-low 29% shooting from three-land in their own arena. When it comes to offensive production, John Morant scoring a team-best 28 points a game, along with 6 boards, 7 assists. Meanwhile, Jaren Jackson's averaging 18.5 points a game himself. They're facing a Philly team who's still going to work without the likes of James Harden and Tyrese Maxey. And even worse news here, Tobias Harris, he's also questionable to go tonight as well, so keep an eye on his status. Now, when it comes to offensive production, well, the Sixers haven't been great. They're in the bottom 3 in scoring, and they're almost dead last in offensive boards. Now, total-wise, Philly saw 4 out of their last 5 stay under the line. Meanwhile, Memphis saw unders against the likes of Minnesota, Sacramento, and New Orleans. I'm going to lean toward Memphis -5, under 218. Next ball game I have for you, it is going to be Rockets at the Suns, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Phoenix is -11.5, totals 228. Now, the Suns have been incredibly tough on defense. They're in the top 5 in fewest points allowed. They've also done a nice job of defensive rebounding. DeAndre Ayton's bringing down double-digit rebounds a night. He's also second on the team in scoring. And speaking of points, Devin Booker's averaging a team-best 29 points a game, along with 5 boards, 5 assists. Now, they're facing a Houston team who lost 7 out of their last 10, and they're winning just 15% of their road games. And this really shouldn't come as much a surprise here. The Rockets have the lowest offensive field goal percentage in the league. Now, injury-wise, Jayshawn Tate is out today with an ankle. Meanwhile, for Phoenix, Chris Paul's out with a heel. When it comes to the total, Phoenix is 8-5 to the under in their own place. Meanwhile, Houston saw unders against the likes of Denver, OKC, and Indiana. I'm going to lean toward Phoenix -11.5, under 228. Next ball game, it is going to be Pacers Jazz, 9 o'clock East. Utah's -4, totals 238. I'm 6-0 in my last 6 extra daily bets on my website. Now, it's got to be nice being at home here for Utah. They're winning 70% of their contests in Salt Lake City. They're also amongst the highest scoring teams in the NBA. They're 117 points a night, ranks in the top 5 in the entire association. Lauri Markkanen's averaging a team-best 22 points a game. He's also making 40% of his three-pointers. He's averaging 8.5 boards a night. Kelly Olynyk's also knocking down nearly 48% of his three-pointers. No real surprise here, guys. The Jazz are currently in the top 3 in home three-point shooting. They're facing an Indy team who has all kinds of problems on defense. These guys are allowing over 115 points a night. They're also amongst the worst defensive rebounding teams in the East. Now, injury-wise, leading scorer Tyrese Halliburton, he's questionable with a groin injury. Meanwhile, for Utah, Conley and Juzang are out for them. When it comes to the scoring in this one, Utah saw unders recently against the likes of Chicago, Phoenix, and New York. Meanwhile, Indy's gone 60% to the under in their road games. I'm going to lean toward the Jazz, -4, under 238. Next and final matchup, I believe. Yes, next and final matchup, it is going to be Bulls at the Warriors, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Golden State's -7, totals 236. Now, the Warriors are 9-1 straight up in their own building. They covered the number in 70% of those contests. Steph Curry's dropping over 43% of his three-pointers. He's also scoring 31 points a game. Now, Andrew Wiggins, he's making 42% of his shots from three-land, and he also ranks second on the team in points. They're facing a Chicago team who does not defend a three-ball well at all. They're in the bottom 3 in defensive three-point percentage, and they also took the loss in 6 out of their last 9 ball games. Now, injury-wise, Ball's out. Caruso's questionable. When it comes to the total, Chicago's 7-4 to the over while traveling this year. Meanwhile, Golden State, 60% to the over at the Chase Center. I'm going to lean toward Golden State, -7, over 236. With that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. I like Washington, -3, under 223.5. Denver, -2.5, over 232. I'm 6-0 in my last 6 extra daily bets on my website. 6-0, 6-0, 6-0. I like Milwaukee, -8.5. Wow, man, let's try that again. Let's start that over. Man, because I was really flowing there, and then I messed it up. Quick pick recap. Let's try it again. Washington, -3, under 223.5. Denver, -2.5, over 232. I'm 6-0 in my last 6 extra daily bets on my website. That's 6-0, 6-0, 6-0. Give me Milwaukee, -8.5, over 230 and a hook. Boston, -8, over 225. Cleveland, -10.5, under 217. Toronto, +2, under 224. New Orleans, -7, over 233. Memphis, -5, under 218. Phoenix Suns, -11.5, under 228. Utah Jazz, -4, under 238. Next and final pick, give me Golden State, -7, over 236.